Greetings, ladies and metal gents, and welcome to the latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called Galactic Emergency Protocol Code 17, written by FarmH4275. I sat in my seat on the bridge of the ambassadorial flagship, our escort to our flanks as we watched the exercises unfold. We were newcomers to the galactic hierarchy. Barely a standard year had passed since we had been allowed to join. This was little more than a standard biannual fire exercise, a simple sparring match that'll allow engineers, scientists, and other officers chances to test tactics and gather data to improve systems. This is all expected, done often enough by our own empire. We did, however, politely ask for an observer's position in the exercise so that we could gather our own data, a request that was politely accepted. The ships within the Confederacy were wide and varied, reflective of the diversity of thought and race within the collective. Smooth hulls and curved shapes from the more elegant empires, rounded hulls and more insectoid or hive-minded empires. The straight hulls with the right angles were those with more practical patterns. From simple single-person craft to enormous hulks called carriers, which was an entirely new concept to us. A large capital-class ship whose entire armament was fighter and bomber craft. Clearly, a novel and obviously brilliant concept considering how these carriers were causing a stalemate. The empires had put dummy targets around the battle area, ships with no crew and limited automation scripted to make them float about the area. Some 2 of the 3 dozen of the dummy ships were wandering about, firing training lasers or hollow railgun slugs at low speeds at any target they could find. A sophisticated AI system calculating damage proportions and numbers. Every time a ship took too much damage, its hull would light up with a pattern of blue lights. Then it would designate to standby phase, somewhere away from the fight. A litany of strategies and tactics played out before us, a few of which we ourselves used in combat. We did, however, have an advantage of some kind at least. The main beam cannon arrays on our ships could hit further than any other ship here, so our warships would be an impressively potent force to be reckoned with. We had the advantage of range and firepower. If they played right and we had a fair deal when it came to trade relations, we would be nigh unstoppable. That was the hope, anyway. "How goes the fight, Ensign?" I asked. "Apparently blue team is winning, sir. 17 of the 35 drone targets have been knocked out," he replied. "Well, that's good then. Are we recording this as per protocol?" I said, as one of the drone targets powered down and began to drift in the void. "Yes, sir, our strategists will be poring over this data for months. I dare say that they will be most enthused," he replied, and adjusted some knobs on his console. I watched the battle unfold. My eyes caught a group of 3 warships, a frigate and 2 destroyers, gracefully charging in behind one of the target drones in a line formation, engines at full speed. The formation moved forward and engaged with a truly impressive level of coordination as they charged through the void towards the dreadnought-sized dummy target. And then it all came to a blaring, screeching halt. "What in the devil's tits is going on?" I yelled as the whole battle just stopped, as if a god snapped his fingers. "Code 17! Code 17!" came the panicked and terrified scream on one of the Astrani ships. Then, there, in the background, one of the ships had bright flashing red lights lit up all across the entire hull structure. The battle halted mid-stride, and a cacophony of screaming suddenly erupted from every communications channel possible. We went to high alert based solely on the panic in the orders, charging weapons and shields. The panic was this severe, then it meant we were about to face an existential threat. Moments later, a new ship appeared in the star system. "My lord, new vessel detected, dreadnought class. Prepare battle formation," I ordered. Pilots moved our ships to star formation and readied our main cannon to fire. But by the time we were ready to engage, it was already right on top of us. "How in the hell is that thing so fast?" I yelled as it approached us, then blew right past us. The thing was massive, a dreadnought after all, bristling with dozens of cannons and missile bays. It was more heavily armed than any other warship present. Its armor plating and shield systems outclassed anything around us, and it moved the kind of speed that no ship that size should ever be allowed to travel. Jagged edges, triangular shape, and strange markings. It blew past us, the size and velocity causing an artificial gravity generator on board the ship to malfunction and throwing various supplies around the floor. By the time we turned our cannons towards it, we were receiving hastily gasped orders to stand down our weapons, and the master ship had boarded the ship with the bright, flashing lights. "Quick, we have access to internal security on their ships for the exercise. See if you can find which ship is and patch us in," I commanded. "I'm ready on it, my lord. Sending requests. I'm in," my ensign replied. The monitors and displays we had switched over to feeds from inside the stricken ship. One such feed was a helmet-mounted camera. The camera showed them frantically charging through the ship's corridors past the panic-stricken crew members who were frantically pointing them in the direction of the threat. That threat turned out to be some kind of odd device. In the mess hall, the soldier wearing the camera approached it with extreme caution and produced some kind of scanning tool and waved it at the strange device. The device itself looked like a cheaply made plastic and glass water filter with some description. "What the actual hell is going on? What is that thing?" I asked. "I have no identity details, my lord. The only thing I can find from the mainframe regarding this device is that Fred. That's it, Fred," my ensign said. "It's a Fred? What the hell is a Fred?" I asked again, genuinely confused. "I shall try to cross-reference. One moment. I have no identity details on what exactly they are. I have no straight answers, sir. I keep getting words like Susan, James, Jamal, Julius, and, silly Edmund, for some reason. I have no idea what's going on," he replied. "I shall call the ambassador and ask," I said, and hailed the flagship. I waited, watching the scene unfold. My call to the ambassador was received but put on hold. We watched as the emergency procedure played out, faster than anyone could even imagine, let alone see. The officer worked, quickly replacing the components, fixing wires, and working on parts. He filled the receptacle on the back with fresh water, then filled the top part with some kind of powdery substance. He then pressed the button, and the device powered up, then started making very odd sounds. Finally, the officers leaned in, took a deep breath, and sniffed the odor coming from the odd black liquid that came out of it. He pressed the alarm button on the side of the alert ended. Then, just like that, the fleet resumed its operations. I sat, jaw open, bewildered, befuddled, and unable to process what the hell just happened as the fleet instantly returned to normal operations. And the officer with the helmet cam hid behind a doorway to watch the result. A creature identified as a human with the rank of service technician appeared and stood by the device, groggily, almost sleepily, stood near it and waited for the device to finish its filtering cycle. He put some of the odd black liquid into a cup of some kind, then began drinking it, casually, walking away as if there wasn't a serious emergency just now. The soldier raised a hand, gave what we identified as a thumbs-up signal, and then quickly returned to his ship. That very ship rapidly disappeared from the star system. Just like that, the mock battle resumed. The ambassador finally responded to my call and acted as if nothing happened. "Yes, Master Loris? You have a request." I sat there with my jaw open, wordlessly. I frantically pointed at the screen, then at the ship, and then just caused the entire battle to stop mid-fight. "What?" "Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you. Galactic Emergency Protocol, Code 17. Emergency coffee machine repair service. The human caffeine protocol. I forgot to explain it to you," he simply replied with a genuine smile. Emergency coffee, what?" I bewildered. "Look, you are still new, so you don't have to face this problem, so I don't expect you to understand. It's something that we have gotten used to. It's something that we make concessions for. We've never regretted that decision. Don't worry about it," he replied with a gentle smile. "Can you please explain it, then?" I asked. "Very well." He glared into the camera lens, getting uncomfortably close to it. He spoke close to the audio device and spoke deep and slow. "Humans are freaks of nature." I leaned back in my seat, scared. "Okay." He returned to normal posture. "Humans are a species that hails from a Class 14 Deathworld. Most of these humans, especially the adults, seem to function on a substance called coffee, which is highly toxic to most species in the galaxy. Probably you as well. They, however, almost require it to function properly, especially after a sleep cycle, he said. I see. So you have what? At least what looks like an entire military-grade contingent force to keep these coffee things working, I replied, still confused. It goes a bit deeper than that. You know how I said humans are freaks of nature? Well, they are. They also possess some kind of magical or psychic abilities, especially the engineers, he said. I scoffed immediately. Preposterous. Magic and psychics aren't real. Believe me, we've tried so many times to figure that out, I said, leaning back in my seat. Then I say you are wrong. At least when it comes to humans. They are abnormal, to say the least. But benefits of their presence outweigh any kind of cost associated with it. When it comes to janitorial and cleanliness services, you get a specific kind of human. Your ship will be factory pristine for the entire duration of your stay. You get a pilot. Human pilots seem to have an entire sixth sense dedicated to the task, and they can navigate asteroid storms none of us would ever dare go near. Some of the simplest tasks, you get the right kind of human in charge of the correct system. You're almost invulnerable, he replied. I see, so. In short, I have a human on board my flagship too, Jeffrey. He's the mechanic specialist in charge of my ship's reactor. It has been 20 years, Galactic stated, since he showed up. Despite the fact my reactor is 15 cycles out of date, it outperforms the latest model by 15%, he said. I raised my eyebrows at the statement. Well, that's, Here's the proof, he said, and sent us the details of the Rack-Core system on that ship. Certain fields were classified, of course, but we could clearly see the difference. It was messy, but it was real. Oh my engineer said as he looked it over as well. I could see him salivating at the sight. So that's new. Are these humans common? How do they do it? I asked. We have no idea. Jerry-rigging, parts replacement, logic, magic, we have no idea. The pilots seem to instinctively know the path to take and where to go when flying through hazardous locations. Engineers seem to be able to source replacement parts and engine thruster upgrades from thin air or scrap parts from the garbage can. Childcare and home care workers seem to have a natural charisma about them that makes younglings just adore them. Accountants seem to be able to pull numbers out of their rear ends, and all those numbers are always legitimate. Lawyers can argue in defiance of a rock that fell on someone and make sure the rock wins, he said, showing various pictures of humans doing what he described, showing articles, news feeds, and security footage. Okay, I think I get it, but what's the Protocol 17 business? How do you justify what is clearly a dedicated military armed force to the process and repairing a beverage machine? I asked. When the human is deprived of coffee, bad things happen. Like that one time on Ceros 4, that dude Marcus. He ran out of coffee. He went completely insane. He took out 7 Dictarian Praetorians with his bare hands, he replied. What followed was a short clip of a normal, ordinary, meaty human with no natural armaments or anything like that, beating the absolute shite out of 7 heavily armed, heavily clawed soldiers of a crustacean-like species, throwing them over his shoulder like toys, slamming them into walls and cracking chitin shells with his bare fists in a blind rage. And then there was that guy Frank from New Caliban, who had a nervous breakdown because his coffee machine broke down, he said, again showing me more footage. It was a montage of this human very quickly escalating from mild disappointment to psychotic insanity, starting with him standing in front of the coffee machine and looking very sad that it wasn't working, to him chewing on dry coffee granules, to him chugging an entire can of granules mixed with cold water, to finally ending with him scribbling incoherent coffee-related ramblings on the canteen walls as he tears the place apart looking for replacement components. We have no idea what the real relationship between humans and these machines really is. We've tried to run experiments on it, but we find no real correlation. It varies from human to human, which makes it worse. Some humans even prefer a beverage called tea above coffee. But it doesn't change the results if something goes wrong. If a teapot breaks, the human who owns it will go psychotically insane, especially if that teapot is a family heirloom of some kind. Is it the noise that the machine makes? Is it there some kind of subliminal, harmless message? Is it the caffeine in the coffee or tea? Is it the flavor or texture? Is it the simple act of drinking or ceremony involved that makes their brains work? We don't know, and we never will, he said. The monitor displayed a legion of small short videos showing humans accomplishing nearly impossible tasks, insane stunts, incredible moves, or pulling parts and repairs seemingly from the void, all just after having a cup of coffee. To be honest, we don't really care. It is a fact worth the cost. The billions of credits we save on repairs, fleet management, and operation costs from their activities. We can afford not only tax breaks for citizenry, but also afford to operate these emergency services. These freaks of nature only require the ritual of coffee or tea to do everything they do. Stuff that has saved our asses more times than we can count in over 200 years of them being around. Frankly, the price we pay is cheap, he said with a smirk. I nodded along, my ensign bringing up various articles, documentation, and evidence as he explained everything. Indeed, it was looking as though the exchange was more than profitable. I see. All the skill and resource, and all we have to do is let them make coffee, I asked. Pretty much, he replied with a shrug. I shall have to speak to the Emperor and run some of the experiments, but this evidence looks solid. Where do I get one? I asked. Go to any station and offer a job listing. Humans outnumber most galactic species 20 to 1. So finding a human outside of Terran space looking for a job is easy as finding dirt, he replied. 20 to 1, I yelled. Seriously, you will get used to it eventually. Humans mostly keep to their own space. Mostly. But there's always a guy somewhere, I'm usually in a bar, looking for work. Just make sure that you have a coffee machine installed and spare parts for it available, as well as sufficient stock of coffee. You either have a psycho who will kill your crew in his sleep, or you'll have the ship's engineer who can do the impossible, provided he has the coffee supplies he needs. Just be careful, he said with a stern look. I will make note of that. Oh, by the way, does this Code 17 thing have its own insurance plan? I asked. I've already sent you the documents. I knew you would ask, he replied with a sly grin. Months after this, we had a human service technician on board, and a strange rattle that had been plaguing our ship for decades was suddenly gone. End of story. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Caspar Arnholt, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.